On your knees, ladies, this is the Sex Mancers Podcast. Now, before we get started, if you only want to listen to the audio version, and there is a lot more audio episodes than there are video episodes, you can go ahead and go wherever it is you subscribe to podcasts, type in Sex Mancers, here's the cover art, and you can get the entire library of everything that I've done so far. Or you can stick here on the video channel, as I will now be producing episodes. Okay, so let's get into this, because with the way I titled this episode, a lot of you women may be clicking on this or getting ready to be keyboard warriors. Your inner feminazi has come out and you're ready to leave me a bunch of nasty comments and reviews. Now, before you do that, just hear me out, because some of you are in long-term relationships or you've been married for a while. You feel like your relationship has gone stale, right? There's no more passion. All there is just routine, where every day is the same. And every time you have sex, it's the exact same every way. Go to the bedroom, strip naked, you lie down, he gets on top, wham, bam, you're done. And as a result, a lot of you women may be out there bashing your man, in your little women's group, with your friends. You're going off and you're talking about how lazy men are. How your sex life is. Yeah, you just do it for his benefit. You let him get off, and then you grab your battery-operated boyfriend in order to get your jollies off. Now, while you're going off, and this is interesting, while you're going off and you're complaining about how lazy he is in bed, you're not examining about how lazy you are sexually. I mean, a lot of you women out there, and I know this from when I was young and dating, when I was still physically fit because I hadn't spent a decade plus in a cubicle or behind a desk in an office. I had dated around. I had been with girls that I thought were just drop dead gorgeous. And then we slept together, and then I was like, hell no. She was too lazy in bed. So let me point this out to you. Your man should be able to tell you're alive in bed. If the only difference in bed between you and a corpse is your body temperature, you may be part of the problem.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
How do you expect him to be motivated if he feels like he's having sex with a warm-bodied corpse? All right, so you must be more active in the bedroom, and that includes blowjob. Right? Because blowjobs are great. They're great foreplay, they're a great warm-up, or they're great as a solo act. And if he likes receiving blowjob, then you should be giving it to him. Now, I understand that you may not do this as a one-night stand item. On a one-night stand, maybe you're, drunk and you don't even fully conscious or aware of what's going on. You're drunk, he's drunk, and it's just a horrible mess of an experience. Or, hey, it's just a one-night stand. You're just looking to get your jollies off. It's not going anywhere. Fine. You can be lazy. Just don't expect him to call you back. Just like if he's bad in bed or selfish in bed, you're probably not going to give him a call back either. All right? Let's be honest here. Now, I understand that for some of you, the issue might be you have some sort of condition that prevents you from giving a blow. Right? Maybe you're somehow allergic to, or, maybe you had a really bad experience that one and only time that you did it, where you took it too far into your mouth, it triggered your gag reflexes, and you got totally embarrassed. Well, guess what? Practice makes perfect, right? And especially if you love receiving oral, if you love your guy to stick his head right between your legs and go to town on your clit with his tongue, then you must be willing to give as well. You must be willing to go off and give that blowjob. Right? It's an act of love. And I don't mean just twice a year. Right? I don't mean when it's his birthday and Christmas. Right? That is pathetic if you think a blowjob is something that you only do on a special occasion twice a year. And while you're doing it, you're half-assing it. Every 30 seconds of a hand, you give it 2 bobs. That's basically you protesting and you saying, I don't actually want to be doing this. And it's going to take him forever to be able to get off, or maybe your hand job gets him off, and he feels like he's been gypped. He feels like, oh, great, that wasn't really all that great. And then you're going to complain about him being unmotivated. Maybe the reason why he's unmotivated in bed, and maybe the reason why he's being selfish is because he doesn't feel appreciated in bed. Right? He doesn't feel appreciated. And so he's returning to you the level of appreciation that he seems to be getting or perceives to be getting from you. So if you want him to be better in bed, more giving in bed, then you must be more giving in bed.
Oh, ow! Oh, ow! Oh,
How hard is this to understand? Now, I understand that after penetration, that you may not want to go off and finish him off with a blow. Okay, that is the one scenario in which I understand that you do not want to give a blowjob. And hey, I agree with you. You should not have to give a blowjob on a cock that's dripping in your own vaginal juices. Okay, I will understand that. But when it comes to blowjobs in general, right, you should be on a regular basis making it, the entire act from start to finish. You're giving him a blowjob and you make him think, with as motivated as you are to give him that blowjob, that you love doing it, right? That you're just going to town. You are sucking him off something incredible, right? And then he'll return the favor by eating you out, right? And if the guy is watching this show, let me point this out. If she loves being eaten out and you're not doing it, you're a horrible person too. You're just as bad. So you could just take this advice kind of in reverse as well. Now, oral sex is great as standalone or warm up. Okay. So as standalone, from start to finish, you don't have a whole lot of time. Maybe, quickies aren't your thing, or maybe it's just that, I don't know, you're tired, you're somewhat physically exhausted, and yet you're very horny. Right? Blowjobs are a great way. Or maybe, seeing as the holidays are around the corner, you don't really have time to get naked and have sex. And so you just need to disappear, from the kids for a little while, have a little oral, come back, and now your day is better or brighter. Or maybe you make it part of your lunch break from work if you're both able to get home. You go 5 minutes sucking him off, get him off, and then he goes 5 minutes and gets you off. Okay, that is great. And it's also great as part of a warm-up. Hey, instead of just getting undressed, lying down, and having him get on top of you, get undressed and just drop down to your knees and start going to town. You'll immediately see a difference if you haven't done this before. In his erection, his excitement, and how much more he's willing to give you. Now, some of you are going off and saying, But if I give him a blowjob and he already doesn't last very long, then he'll last even less. Not necessarily. No. See, here's what you got to understand. If you just go straight from getting undressed into penetration, the first few minutes, the guy is probably more sensitive than what he is after you get past those first few. And so you can take a look at the idea of oral sex. And I know you probably don't understand this, being a woman, how the guy's, genitalia feels when you're going to town on it. So with it, and the blowjob, you get to control the speed, the suction, and so you can switch between going really fast and sucking hard to going lightly, not really applying a whole lot of pressure or feeling to it. And what you're doing when you're going back and forth in there, you're kind of getting him teased up a little bit, but you're also desensitizing him, right? And as you go through and you desensitize him after you get through the first few minutes, guess what? Once he enters in through penetration, he'll last longer because he's not as sensitive, because you've taken some time to get him all teased up, all worked up. So you're desensitizing him, and he'll be able to last longer in bed, last long enough maybe for you to even be able to get off yourself. Hey, did you ever think about that? And guess what? The same thing goes for you women as well. I mean, think about this. How many of you women are, getting there, and when you first start having sex, it feels great. It feels amazing. But he never goes fast enough or hits the right spot long enough to trigger your orgasm. And then after you go on for a while, what happens? It starts becoming desensitized. You start losing that great feeling, right? And means that you will need to go longer and longer in order to be able to trigger that orgasm. Or, hey, maybe you even need to take a little bit of a break in order to regain that feeling back into your genitals so that you can have the orgasm. It's the same principle, right? It's the exact same concept, only you're doing it to him. All right, so you understand that this could actually lead to you having better, more fulfilling sex. Okay, now there is a difference between doing it as a warm-up and doing it as the one and only act. And now, if it's the one and only act, from start to finish, you're just giving them a blowjob. Hey, you don't have to worry about switching back and forth between going to town really fast, sucking really hard, and going light. If you don't really like giving a blowjob, guess what? You can just go straight to town and work it to the point where you can get them off as fast as possible. You'll find out that as you get more and more experience, and hey, if you're concerned about the gag reflex, guess what? You don't need to take it all the way in. You don't need to go down all the way to the base. Most of the feeling for the guy is located at the tip, right? So you only need to take it in about as far as you can do it comfortably. And then as you get more experience, you can go deeper, deeper. And there's no problem if you stick more to the top of his cock and then use your hand to jerk the shaft while you're going and sucking away. So you shouldn't have to worry about triggering that gag reflex. And the ratio here, yes, I got a ratio here for oral sex, which is for every 2 times you have penetrative sex, you should be willing, if he likes receiving, to do oral once. So 1/3 of your sexual intercourse should be oral sex. And you shouldn't be waiting for him to ask. Because guys, we have figured out over time through your reaction that you don't really like being asked. You don't like him going up and going, hey, baby, I'm horny. You want to give me a blowjob? Right? We understand that that's not the way to approach it. And guess what? Attempting to do that in the past, you've probably given some pretty negative responses. It's one of those situations where, you're in bed and you're feeling like, okay, I'll do more than just lie there. And then you go to look him in the eyes and you ask, what do you want? Well, what do you mean, what do I want? I mean, I know what I want, but I know you won't do it. What's the point? He's too afraid to tell you or to ask you, because if you are in the mood, he has learned from previous experience that just asking you for what he wants will throw you out of the mood, and then you're not going to get anything at all. Okay? So you shouldn't wait for him to ask or to beg you. You should just automatically do it. Set a schedule, right? Set a schedule for your sex life. I know some of you don't like the idea of a sex schedule, but hey, when you got a busy, active life, you work a lot, let's say you're married and you have kids and you have all of that going on, it's pretty easy to forget about sex. And you can go, for a month, maybe 2 months before and suddenly realize, wow, it's been a long time since I've had sex. And then you have to deal with being over. So set a schedule. And in that schedule, you should set it where, got to silence my phone. Oh, well, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and leave. I don't really like to do a whole lot of editing. Okay, so set a schedule. Okay, you're going to have sex on these nights. And every 3rd time, you set it for oral sex. And therefore, that every 3rd time is going to be oral sex. And guess what? On oral sex night, you should initiate. whether you do it in the bedroom or you're lucky enough to not have kids yet, in the living room, you just see him sitting in front of the TV watching his show, and you figure, hey, you know what? This would be a great time. Just start walking in front of him, drop to his knees, and start unzipping his fly. I mean, after all, you're the one out there looking for ways to improve your relationship, right? To get him to pay more attention to you again than he does the TV. Well, guess what? He maybe used the TV to hide his sexual frustration or try and distract his mind. Great way to re-engage him in the relationship is through sex. Guys bond by doing stuff. You bond by feelings. You want to get the guy to go off and express feelings, you must be willing to do a little something yourself, to ignite that. And sex is a great way to do that. So, let's say he's watching TV, you just start, walking up to him, drop down to your knees and go for his fly and let him know, hey, I'm just going to suck you off right here. Lay back and enjoy, or sit back and enjoy.
Would you like for me to take your pants off instead?
Gee, let me think. Sure. Whoa, jeez. Oh, Pete! We're real friendly around here. Whoa!
Or maybe, you're going to bed, right? And he's getting ready to fall asleep. Just reach over, grab his cock, throw the covers off, and then just start going off and suck it. Don't wait for him to ask you. Just start planning it in advance and make it a regular thing. You will notice as you start doing this, a change in his mood, a change in his attitude. You'll see him looking for more ways to spend time with you. You may even see him, starting to take the initiative to do more to help out around the house. Why? Because you're also changing his mood. Instead of leaving him sexually frustrated all the time, wondering when the next time you're going to allow him to get off is going to be, you make sure it's a regular thing. You set it off twice a week at least. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have sex with him. And every 3 times, I'm just going to go ahead and go down on him orally. Right? And then you'll start seeing those changes, moods, him wanting to be more helpful around the house. Why? Because he figures, hey, this is great. She's now doing things that she hasn't done before. Hey, I need to, reward her for that. So I need to pick up around the house, spend more time with her, pay more attention to her so that she keeps doing it. I don't want this to go away. And yes, guys actually think like that. When you start changing your behaviors and start doing more sexually, a guy is going to take a look at that and try and figure out ways to keep you doing that, to keep you motivated so that that new sexual act that you do doesn't go away. And if you haven't given a blowjob, or blowjob was just birthdays and Christmas, and all of a sudden you start doing this every, third time, which is about every other week, you're going down and giving him a blowjob, and you're going from, sex maybe, twice a month to twice a week. Oh, you better believe he's going to try and figure out ways to keep you motivated at doing that. Right? And guys, we know, especially us married men, we know there is 2 ways in which to keep women motivated to do certain things. 1, help out around the house, whether that be chores or taking the kids away so mommy can have some quiet time. Another way that we can ensure that this action and behavior continues is to spend time. Hey, you know what? I know I have figured out that from the pattern here, this is the night when you usually want to have sex. You just start initiating sex. So I know I'll also make this date night, where we get out of the house. If you have kids, you'll hire a sitter and get out of the house, go to a movie, have a nice quiet dinner, maybe just go for a walk or go find some activity that you like to do together. He's going to be more focused and paying more attention to you. Yes, guys really think a lot like this, in case you haven't figured that out. Okay, and so you can do that. Heck, you can even tease him up a little bit. You see him sitting in the chair watching his show, and you're thinking, yes, this is going to be a great time, just start dropping down to all fours and do a little tiger crawl to let him build up the anticipation. Ooh, baby. He'll get excited, and you'll see him, pretty quickly pause the TV. Now, when you first start doing this, he may say something initially that may, cause you to want to be demotivated. All right. For instance, he may ask you if you just, the first time you start going around to give him blowjobs, you go through and you drop to all four and do that little tiger crawl. He may first look at you like, what are you doing? Right? Because he's not expecting, he doesn't know what's coming because you haven't done that or haven't done this, often. It's been a long time. So he may not know what you're doing. And so just smile, don't take it personally. Don't take it as oh my God, he thinks I'm a crackhead or something. No. Just recognize that he has seen something, new behavior. And therefore, he's just trying to figure out what it is you're up to. Just smile and keep crawling to him and then crawl up and then go for his fly. And then just let him know, hey, baby, I want you to enjoy this. Doing that tiger crawl. Or maybe you go off and you do a little dance for him before you drop down to your, let him know, hey, I appreciate you. And, another thing I should be putting out here is that if you've done something on a one night stand, if you've done something for a previous boyfriend that you're no longer with, but you're not willing to do it with your current husband or your current guy, that is horrible. Because what you are basically signaling there, let's say, the previous guy that you were with before the man that you married or the man that you're engaged in with or whatever, the previous guy, you were willing to give blowjobs. You gave blowjobs even if you didn't like it. Well, if you did that, but you're not willing to do that for your current man, your husband, then it's an indication that you cared more about that other guy than you did about the guy you got married to. Right? And with some of you, your sex life is bad. When you're young, drunk, and single, you were the town bike. Everybody got a ride. You were as easy as could be. Maybe you even had a nickname like backseat, whatever your name is. Right? And then you got married and you're a prude. No. That is backward. You should be hard to get when you're single. Make the guy prove that he is the one for you. And then when you're married, you should be the easiest person for your husband to get. The easiest person for your fiance to get. There should be absolutely no resistance to him wanting to strip you naked, spread your legs, and go to town. And you should be willing, as an act of love, to just spontaneously initiate sex yourself with the blowjobs and just getting on top and other positions. Right? It doesn't matter what you look like. If you're lazy sexually, it's going to cause the relationship to fizzle out. Okay. So I hope you got a good explanation and you understand why you should be doing this. Everything from helping to desensitize him as part of foreplay so that he lasts longer in bed, by getting him a little teased up, to the act of love, how it will help change his behavior. And now if you wanted to go off and have an actual instruction of this is how you give a blowjob, hey, you know what? I can't give you that instruction. I've only been on the receiving end. I don't know about all the techniques. I just know that what my wife does feels incredible. Right? And so I'm just trying to go off here and, like I do with all my shows, give you the guy's perspective from a guy who's been in a long-term relationship. I've been married for over a decade now. Jeepers. Where does the time go? I have 3 kids and all that, and yet me and my wife still have a very active, very healthy sex life. Right? And I'm just trying to give you from the guy's point of view to be able to help you ladies who feel like your relationship is stuck in a rut. There is no passion. It's all routine. How you can go off and reignite the relationship. and be able to, bring that passion back in, or get him to, once again, pay more attention to you, flirt with you, grab your butt and stuff the way you like it, just hold you and hug you, snuggle, and help out more around the house. That is the point of me trying to go off and give you this advice and letting you know, through the steps here, how to get to that point. And oral sex, yes, you dropping down to your knees so much that you wear holes in your knee, giving him blowjob, is one way to go off and accomplish that. And you know what? He does, work hard. You do too. I will, no disputing that you work hard too. And therefore, he should be able to just relax. There should be some time, right? Especially if you don't like receiving yourself. Maybe you don't like receiving. You should still be willing to give your partner, your husband, a blowjob. Just make it, out of that 1 out of every 3 times. If you don't like being on the receiving end of oral sex, then just for that night, that 3rd time, you just let him, relax, enjoy. You go to town, you give him a blowjob, you swallow it, and yes, you're going to swallow it, right? Unless you have some sort of, weird condition that makes it so that you can't swallow. Yes, you're going to swallow as much of it as you can, as you can. Depending on how much of a load he blows, you might not be able to contain it all, but you should swallow it. So, go through, let him sit down in front of the TV, or just before he goes to bed, go through, just tell him, that you want to suck him off and that he should just enjoy it, be relaxed. The only thing he has to do is give you a little bit of a warning of when he's about to ejaculate, so that you can prepare yourself so it doesn't trigger your reflex. Right? And just do that, and without receiving anything in return. That's if you don't like receiving oral. Okay. So that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. You can go to the podcast, get the audio version. You can go off and submit your question as well. If you want more answers or something that you want me to do on the audio version of the podcast, I would say here in the month of December, as we go through and have Christmas and the holidays, with everything as hectic as it is, the shows are going to be shorter than they normally are throughout the rest of the year. Okay? So don't forget to subscribe to the podcast if you want to get a lot more information. Or if you just like the video format, go ahead, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, depending on what platform you're watching this on. Okay, that's it for this episode. Leave me comments and have any questions, and I will be back again soon.